All right. Hi. I believe we are live. Welcome, everyone, to this live broadcast. I'm Carissa Farrow. I am the Director of Communications and Marketing for Lumos Transforms, and I am here today with Pierre-Etienne Vannier. Am I saying it right?
Perfect. Got it.
And we've been doing some Facebook Lives with some of our facilitators so that you guys can get to know our team a little bit better. So today we're featuring Pierre-Etienne. And do you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. So yes, my name is Pierre-Etienne Vannier. I'm one of the staff at Lumos Transforms, and I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So I thought we would just see how this goes. If you guys are watching this broadcast, please like, comment, share, ask us questions. We're experimenting with this new format. So if you have questions, you should be able to comment and then I can bring them up on the screen and we can answer anything that you're interested in learning about. So first, I thought we would help people get to know you a little bit better, Pierre-Etienne. So maybe you can tell us how you got into being a mind-body practitioner, what led you to that work, and what route did you take to start out to be where you are today?
Okay. So the short version is that I've been in the US for about 4 years. Prior to that, I used to live in Egypt. I lived in Egypt, Cairo, Egypt for 10 years. And I was working for the United Nations Development Program, working specifically to support people living with HIV and AIDS to teach them leadership skills, empowerment skills, putting programs together for socioeconomic empowerment. And the work we're doing was really interesting, but we could see that sometimes people were really fired up after certain events, certain workshops, certain trainings. And I was wondering, what is that really makes the difference? And I realized that when we engage people at the emotional level, when it's an experiential process rather than an intellectual process, that creates the shifts. And once I talked to a person living with HIV, let's call her Salma. And Salma was telling me, HIV had an amazing impact in my life. Of course, it's a challenge, but it also was a powerful wake-up call. And so I started to meet more and more people telling me this, and then I discovered what's called post-traumatic growth. Post-traumatic growth is really, when life happens, when challenges hit you in the face, what are the lessons, what are learning, how can you grow from that? And so I looked into different ways. How can I help people foster, enhance that post-traumatic growth? And so I went into studying clinical hypnotherapy, therapeutic guided imagery, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that led me to Lumos many years later, gratefully and thankfully.
I love that. I think that's really common for a lot of people who do that work. They find that maybe they came up and they came against particular big challenges in their life. And while those things can be really hard, it's also an opportunity to change and grow and can turn into something really ultimately helpful if you know the tools to get you through something challenging that causes stress or trauma.
Yeah, absolutely. It's recognizing that, traumatic experiences clearly have, negative psychological effect, but at the same time, they can also be paradoxically a meaningful outcome. And so I help people through that process.
So I'm particularly interested in, usually, just so you know, when I talk to our facilitators, and so everyone knows, it's a learning process for me too. I get to know a little bit more about you guys and all the different modalities you use and your skills that you have. So I don't know a lot about hypnotherapy, and I didn't even know that hypnotherapy would be used to facilitate, post-traumatic growth. I've heard people use it to quit smoking or, things like that. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about what exactly hypnotherapy is, because that's a modality you use with your private clients. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about what hypnotherapy is and how people could use it for those other things. Because I always just thought it was to stop like a negative habit.
Well, so So to build on your question, yeah, we start by stopping a negative habit, and then we replace it with something that's more positive. So hypnotherapy is indeed one of the tools I use. So I just to take a step back, what I do is I basically teach my clients tools, techniques, skills, right? I don't do anything to people. I can't control people's mind. Only my kids still think that I have magical powers, right? But it's really about empowering people, helping them to reclaim a sense of safety, helping them to reclaim a sense of empowerment, a sense of peace at the visceral level. And so this is being done by them learning tools. What can I do to change my life? And so when it comes to hypnotherapy, therapeutic guided imagery, mindfulness meditation, neuro-linguistic programming, et cetera, all these tools that I teach to my clients, if I was to explain briefly that model, we basically talking about, when we talk about the mind, we're talking about the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and in between we have what's called this critical filter, this bouncer. This conscious mind is where we are right now. It's basically that logical, analytical, rational mind. The subconscious mind is in charge of keeping you alive, keeping you breathing, blinking, your heart beating, but it's also in charge of your emotions, because when you get emotional, you don't get more rational, right? You probably do something, say something, and 5 minutes later, you're like, we've all been there. And it's also in charge of your automatic behaviors. So you need to understand that 80 to 90% of everything you do, everything that all of the viewers are doing, 80 to 90% of the time we're on autopilots. And so what we do is we teach people how to change that pattern, right? Because in between that conscious and subconscious, there is this bouncer, there is this filter that tends to prevent us from learning, that says, hey, what do you mean I could be safe right now? No, because for the past 5 years, for the past 10 years, for the past 20 years, my experience at the subconscious level, my habits have been to not feel safe. And what I do is I help people bypass that critical filter, bypass that bouncer, get in a state where they can learn best, get in a state where they can build basically new neural pathways in the brain, right? We're harnessing neuroplasticity. Every time you learn something new, every time you hear something new, the map of your brain changes. And this is really exciting to know that and to understand that, because it means that you have an opportunity to rewire all of that. And with the understanding that your strongest beliefs and your strongest habits have the strongest neural pathways. If you change the neural pathways, you change the behaviors. If you change the behaviors, that's when you start to change your life. So that's what we do. I help people change the circuitry in there. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And it's always, I just wanted to say welcome to anyone if you're joining the broadcast. We're Lumos Transforms. Pierre-Etienne Vannier is one of our facilitators, and I'm the marketing person. So I do the interviewing, and Pierre-Etienne comes with all the good information. And now that I've done a couple of these, it's just so fascinating to me, because you really come at this work from the mind, and some of our other people, they're massage therapists, and they might come at it from the body first. And it just, to me, it's so nice because everyone is different and everyone's comfortable with a different pathway to get to healing. So for someone who responds to talk about forming new neural pathways in the subconscious versus the, conscious mind, this might be the way they might want to get into the work that feels most safe.
Yeah. And you know that because there's not one way to heal.
Right.
And so for us to be able to offer a variety of modalities, I think it's really important to respect everybody's uniqueness. And at the same time, even though on the team we have people with very different, backgrounds and were proficient with different types of therapeutic modalities, we all work towards helping people integrate, helping people really be present in their mind and their body. So yes, I work with what I call mind-based approaches, but at the same time, we engage at the emotional level, right? So it is about connecting to the feelings and the sensations, because every single emotion has a map in the body, right? There's a physical response, there's a physiological response. And so having this embodied awareness and kind of like coming home, right, safely, saying this is my body, and I feel safe here, and I can be okay, I think is something that's really that's great. It's really exciting work.
Yeah, and that idea of feeling safe, I mean, I know that's kind of a central focus of the Resilience Toolkit, which is a way to create that feeling of safety in the body. So I guess I'm curious how, you're a certified facilitator of the Resilience Toolkit. If you guys don't know what that is our signature program, our signature group program, for people who want to learn little mindfulness or movement hacks to reduce nervous system activation and cultivate that feeling of peace or safety at the body level, and so that you can be more resilient, so that you can bounce back from the challenges of life. So I wanted to hear a little bit about maybe how you introduced that body piece, or how you saw that body piece would fit into what you do, and then talk about if you do Toolkit with your private clients, like, do you teach any of those tools as well, like when you work with someone individually?
Yeah. So, I was reflecting, because you had asked me previously, how do you decide, what kind of tools do you use? And I have this like groundbreaking, revolutionary method, which consists in asking my clients, right, what they feel most comfortable with, because it's not what I think is best for them, rather than, again, bringing them in the driver's seat, and I'm here to help them navigate and to help them grow, but it's really about helping them find out what feels most empowering and most healing. So the way we integrate this is oftentimes the process. We need to understand that the Resilience Toolkit, as per its name, focuses on building resilience, right? As you build resilience, you really build that foundation for you to reclaim that safety, for you to balance the nervous system. And obviously, with the balanced nervous system comes better sleep, better creativity, the ability to connect to your loved ones, the ability to be present, the ability to heal, et cetera, et cetera. We all have these skills, these innate skills. What we're doing is really helping people to reconnect to these skills. And once we've built that resilience, that foundation, this is when some other skills come in, with the hypnotherapy, with the therapeutic guided imagery, et cetera, to really move into reprocessing, and working on that trauma recovery, on that habit formation. But it integrates beautifully, because they're both about being in a state where you can learn best, being in a state where you train your mind, your body, your whole being, really, to be in that state of balance. And obviously, you don't have. The goal is not for you to be in a constant state of balance. Life happens. When you get stressed out, oftentimes there may be a good reason, right? If the car comes your way, you don't want to be all relaxed and chilled. You want to make sure you get stressed out, you move away.
Right.
But once you go home, if you're still stressed out about it, it's really useful for you to have the skills to say, hey, that car didn't hit me. Yeah. I'm back home. I'm safe. And therefore, I can just come back to that place of balance. So it's really about helping people to have that emotional flexibility.
Yeah. I relate to that one in particular. Like, I had a fender bender a little while ago. It was very minor and no one was hurt. And I now have tools to come down off something when before I didn't. Before something, that was a threat that was maybe minor, it would just stay in me. And then who knows, maybe it comes out with me yelling at my kids or whatever. But because now I have tools, I've done the toolkit, I've worked on, my resilience and my stress. I have some things that I can do when there's something that's a threat or even a chronic stress.
Absolutely. But it's interesting what you're mentioning, because it's not just about you. It's also about the people who live with you in your life, because
Right.
when you're balanced, or when you're not so balanced, when we're triggered, when we're stressed out, we're also stressful to be around, right? And
Yeah.
especially for people who have kids, or for people who live in this world and we interact with the rest of the world. For you to be able to be balanced, for you to be able to be grounded, I think is also a beautiful gift that you give to others, because you also help them. You know, we oftentimes we're going to sink. The nervous system is going to sink. You know, when you get to somebody and you're like, oh, that person, I don't want to get close to that person. You haven't talked to that person, but you can feel how stressful that would be of an experience for you, and vice versa. When somebody's like, oh, that person feels grounded, I'm attracted to that person, and again, it's about that ability to come into that space where like there's an openness, there's a flexibility, there's a creativity. And so it's a gift for yourself, but it's also a gift for the people in your family, for your friends, people in your life.
Yeah, it segues a little bit into something that I'm really fascinated about. And I know in the beginning of our conversation, you talked about working with people who are living with HIV. And I know you do a lot of advocacy work and work with people who experience like big traumas, right? And you had gone to the conference recently of like, intergenerational trauma for people who've survived genocide, so I'm talking about fender benders, which is like kind of the little life things that happen, throughout the day, those small stressors that can add up, which these modalities can help with, but there's also big things. So maybe you want to talk about the big things. That's always uncomfortable for people, but it's important because sometimes those big things are in play for people and we're not even aware of it.
Well, it raises the issue of like small T traumas, big T traumas, cumulative trauma, and I want people to understand that you don't have to, go through a major, it's not because you didn't go through, genocide or a major car accident or stuff like this that you're not necessarily traumatized. Yes, like what that at this conference, what we realized is that you inherit a lot of, and I say that respectfully, a lot of crap really from previous generations in your family. It accumulates, right, in terms of how your genes will express themselves, what we call epigenetics, in terms of habits, right? If you've starved, if my grandparents went through World War II, and so their food was being rationed, and so we grew up with the finish every single piece of food that's in your plate, and we're just going to be careful, and we need to make sure that we always have food in the house, etc., etc. And it's the same thing for people who've been through that kind of big T traumas. And so what's most interesting is that yes, we do inherit patterns that are not necessarily helpful. At the same time, what was, I think, most interesting to me in this conference is that traumas will create what's called compensatory resilience, which means that survivors are primed for resilience, right? So we inherit the challenges, but we also inherit some strength. And I think that's nice. I think that's really stick with me, because knowing that there is this wisdom within ourselves, within the body, within the nervous system, that says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, which is really something we say like that. But when we look into science and research, it's something that's profound, because it's what we've inherited from our ancestors also helps us to be stronger and to be able to deal with these challenges, hopefully in a way that's a little smarter and healthier.
It's interesting. It's full circle to kind of what you talked about at the beginning, which was that, now I forgot the term, post-traumatic growth.
Right. Yeah. That's what it is. How can I learn and grow from my challenges?
Okay. So we didn't want to go too long, so we'll wrap it up. But just so everyone knows, Pierre-Etienne has a session of the Resilience Toolkit online that is starting a week from today. Yes?
Yep.
So it's 3 sessions, 3 weeks, 90-minute sessions. It meets online. So kind of this video, not this format, but video chat. And it's a small group. So you get lots of personalized attention to learn these small tools that you can use to, well, maybe you want to say, I mean, yeah, you tell people what they'll get.
That's exactly what you're saying. It's basically the skills, the tools to bring back balance in your life. If you feel like you're more stressed out than you should be, if you feel like you're not sleeping as well as you could, if you feel like sometimes you're a little too snappy with your friends, with your colleagues, with your kids, it's just because life happens, life stress accumulates, and it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way, and you can significantly improve your quality of health, your quality of life, and it's just a few clicks away. So we're really excited about this class. Being online makes it very easy to attend, and I hope to see many of you next week.
Yep. So I put, hopefully this works. I'm seeing kind of the broadcaster view, but I put up a link. If you go to lumostransforms.com/calendar, you'll be able to find Pierre-Etienne's class. It starts next Tuesday, and you can join from anywhere in the world because it's online. So if the time works for you, join him. And the thing I always want to tell people is that at Lumos Transforms, we really are passionate about making our programs accessible to people. So if you have a financial challenge, please reach out to us. For every single class that we have, we offer a scholarship program. So if finances are getting in the way of you wanting to learn and practice, resilience building tools, please contact us. And if we can't work it out for this class, maybe one in the future. So don't let that be a reason why you don't, pursue healing.
And I just want to add, if you sign up for the class, but you're like, oh, damn, I have something coming up on that Tuesday, the replay is available. You have access to me. You can ask questions. We're here to help you out.
Yes. And when you sign up for the Resilience Toolkit, the 3-part series, you also get access to our Facebook group. It's a peer support group. So people are in there chatting about maintaining the practice, challenges and blocks that they come up against, and staying connected to a community, because not everyone in life is practicing resilience. So it's nice to be connected to people who are working on that, so you can relate on that level.
The best sentence I've heard from that conference is that resilience happens in relationship, not in isolation. So join us.
I'll put that up there too. But resilience happens in relationship, not in isolation. I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you guys are watching this on replay and have questions, please feel free to drop your questions or comments in the comments on this video, because I monitor it and Pierre-Etienne will be looking at it. So if you have questions for him, just ask them and we'll circle back and answer anything that you want to know about. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Carissa. Bye, everybody.
Bye.